Okay, this is our video on guitars and guitar paraphernalia. No! I don't know. I guess we won't use this one because it needs a little work. Anyway, okay, so in all seriousness, we're going to walk through a little bit of a guitar setup and talk about some effects and things like that, okay? So here's my guitar. This is an okay guitar. It's not necessarily that good or that bad, but for our purposes today, it should work fine, okay? Now, you know, you've got your strings on it. You're going to learn how to tune it by using an automatic tuner that you get when you buy them, which they come like this. I have one in my bag over there. Pretty simple stuff, okay? So on your guitar you've got your tone controls, which is bass and treble, then a volume, and then a switch that switches between these pickups. Now on this guitar in particular, they're going to give you different sounds, okay? This is that pickup. This is that pickup, the middle one, right? And this is the bottom pickup. Now, not a lot of difference, but one thing that's going to be really essential is trying to pull a good sound from your guitar, right? Okay? And the difference is these pickups closer to this end of the guitar are going to have more bass on them than treble, right? And that might sound nice to you that, oh, I want a lot of bass on my guitar so I can do this. But when you mix it with a whole band, it's not necessarily going to get you your frequency areas that we talked about, okay? We have to find our area. Okay, so we're going to just start walking through the rudimentary stuff. Here's our plug, and then I have some effects over here, okay? And then I've got them plugged into just your regular Fender amp, okay? Okay, so this is just a little display of a few of the really basic effects that you might want to use on your guitar. You can get these as individual pedals, which looks like this, and you can go to your store and get them as individual pedals. I have them all in one box just because it's easy to carry around. I like this. It's a dinosaur from 1982 actually, but it sounds awesome. Okay, so I have a chorus pedal, a delay pedal, an overdrive / distortion pedal, which gives you that fuzzy sound, and a compressor, which is what we did a video on earlier about, and I'll walk you through it. And then I've got a digital reverb over here. Okay, so I've got reverb, delay, compression, overdrive, chorus. Okay, now this is a shot of the top of the guitar amplifier, and this is where all the knobs are, and we're going for a really simple setup this time, okay? Basically, the only thing we're going to be looking at here is the volume on channel 1, and then the EQ controls on this amplifier, which are treble, bass, and mids. And we're going to be talking about those because we need to pull a good sound from the amplifier from our guitar, so that when we get together in our rehearsal room, our sound is going to be workable with everyone else. Okay. Okay, so we looked at our effects and we looked at our amplifier. Now, one thing that's kind of a little different is the amplifier here. See, it's on this stand that's kind of pointing at me. See how it's kind of pointing up? And this is kind of a personal innovation that a friend of mine made, and these things are really handy because it helps you to get your sound off the ground and pointing to you instead of having to be really loud because your amp is on the floor and it's shooting over there and you can't really hear it. And then you turn it up really loud and then it's in the room way too loud and you can't get a good balance of sound in the room. So here it is. It's right there and I can rock. Now, that's the sound of just a clean amp into a guitar. Now you may say, well, that doesn't sound like, you know, Jimi Hendrix or, you know, I don't know, Yngwie Malmsteen. Look him up. But, so now we're going to go through our effects a little bit, just one by one, the ones that I showed you, and we're going to just talk our way through it, okay? So I'm going to go over here and press the reverb, okay? I'm going to press the reverb switch on my guitar. So here's the sound. See how it sounds it sounds intimate and dead. See, there's no other sound once I stop the guitar from playing, okay? Now I'm going to put some reverb on it. Hear that sound? See that echoey sound? Now all of a sudden I sound like I'm playing in a really big room. So that's a good effect to use, and we'll talk about, you know, the use of that, but more than likely you're going to have a little reverb on your guitar sound because you're looking for ways to make the guitar sound bigger than it is. Okay, because that's just, you'll like it that way. Okay, so I'm going to turn my reverb off, and the next thing I'm going to do is turn on my compressor, which all of a sudden squeezes my sound together. Now I'm not sure how effective this is going to come through the amp, so I'm going to really turn the effect up, and see now I'm gently strumming, and it's the same volume as. See what it's done? It's brought the volume levels together, so it's squished the actual dynamic range. Okay, so now I'm playing a few single notes, right? The actual sound that's coming out of my amplifier is pretty much the same. The actual amount of sound, so it's going to help me when I'm playing a chord, I'm rocking on to my chord, and then all of a sudden I've got a one-note riff. See how that compression really brings your sound together? As you develop your hearing, you'll really notice what that is. It's really accentuated when you're using cleaner sounds too, undistorted sounds. And also, just have a listen to this sound without the compression on. See how much louder the strumming is than the little single notes. And what you'll find is when you're actually playing with the band, if you don't have some way to fill in that gap, you'll be rocking along. And then you'll get to a bit where you're doing your single notes, and the volume will drop away. All of a sudden, the guts of the song will disappear. So that's why people use compression on guitars specifically. Okay, but this is just beginning class. Okay, so the next thing is you'll probably want to look at distortion, which is the overdrive sound. Okay, so we looked at our distortion, and this is that sound. Very fun to do, okay? Now there's two different kinds of distortions, okay? One is called overdrive. Oh, wrong knob. Sorry about that. One is called overdrive, right? And that's the sound of an amplifier being overdriven. That's why this is kind of a vintage sound. You know, they started doing this, with Marshall amplifiers in 1967. This is what Jimi Hendrix used. Is the overdrive sound. Now, you'll discover all different kind of guitar tones as you get better, but think of this as kind of one of your standard sounds. And then think of this other sound as distortion. And distortion is what heavy metal kind of guitar sounds are. Heavy music is usually distortion. Now, that different sound is the sound of the waveform being affected differently. And the one thing that's really weird about distortion is that it's harder to pull a good sound in a rehearsal room with that kind of sound. It just is, because it's a really, it's just kind of has this flat noise. Think of Nirvana, you know. I mean, those guys were really good, but they were really loud, and there was only 3 guys in the room, and this huge wall of sound was what he made out of distortion. Okay, I don't want to get into it too much, but so that's your distortion, okay? And this is your overdrive. Okay, different sounds. Overdrive tends to be better when you're trying to articulate and be a better player. You can actually hear the nuances of your playing a lot more in the overdrive setting than when you're on your distortion setting. Because distortion just kind of distorts everything flatly. Anyway, okay, now we're looking at delay. Delay is a very cool effect that a guitar player is going to use. Some vocals use it, usually not necessarily drums and bass, because it's really hard to control delay in the bottom end frequencies. It's hard to control delay anyway. And here's the example of a delay. Pretty cool, huh? What I like about this is you can make yourself sound like you're doing a lot, and you're not actually doing much at all. Just think of Coldplay, how huge they are, and those guys just play like one note. Something weird like that. I don't know. That was like a nothing. But that's the sound of one setting on the delay. And I don't know. One thing I actually like using delay for is kind of practicing. It helps you kind of get into a groove. Let's see if I can do it. I don't know. I'm just fooling around, but it's kind of fun. Okay, so that's your delay effect, right? And the last one we're going to look at, just as the rudimentary effects, are going to be the chorus. And that's the jangly effect of a small delay on your guitar. It's meant to make your guitar sound like a 12-string guitar. Okay? With it. Now without it. With your chorus. And now we're going to play with our tone controls, which is your bass, treble and middle on your guitar amplifier. Now these are kind of, they're essential to getting your sound. Here, I'm going to turn the bass up. I don't know if you can hear that very well on the mic. And now I'll turn the bass down. See how there's no top ends? There's all treble. Okay, now I'm going to turn the middle up, and then the middle down. See how there's no middle in the sound, it just kind of bottoms and tops? It's a cool kind of sound by itself. Alright, and the last one is treble. Treble turned up, treble turned down. Little less annoying. Okay, so these are kind of the tools that you'll need to start getting a good guitar sound. And you know, you can get really, like, you can do all sorts of things. It's quite amazing. But the key is to always be thinking about the overall sound, how you sound in the room with everyone else. And you'll probably be tempted when you first buy your distortion pedal to turn up the bass, take the middle out, turn out the treble, and now you've got your heavy metal sound. Which is very fun, and probably good for heavy music, but there's no sound in the middle in that, which if you're looking for a sound within a band a grouping as such, you know, you might think about putting some middle in. I don't know. It just depends. If you're doing heavy music, then that's your great sound. All you do is pull all the middle out, put all the bass in, put all the treble in, and turn your distortion up. Okay, so what's another sound? Okay, I'll turn everything flat and put a little overdrive on, maybe. I don't know. How about that? that's just your regular overdrive. This is overdrive with no treble on it. Now I'm just having fun. And now I'm going to turn everything on and see if I can sound really big. Turn the volume up. See, now that's probably going to impress everybody except your band members because you'll fill up the room completely. But these are the effects that are available to you. Okay, so it was just kind of a rudimentary video about what's available, and these are the effects that I would recommend starting with, you know, because you can do so much with these, and just be careful about, because you'll want to buy all these huge effects units and you'll get lost in your sound, and if you get lost in your sound, you're not really listening to everybody else. And the key is to work together, you know, because unless you want to be a one-man show and have huge sounds like I just played, they're not necessarily going to fit or sound good with everyone else. Okay, so I think that's this video on the rudimentary guitar effects, and alright.